How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? It's Nasiphi Zwane back with another episode of Sludge Underground Podcast, and today I've got another amazing guest for you. It's Tsholofelo. How are you doing?
I'm good. You pronounce my name like every other Zulu person. It's Tsholofelo.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
No problem. No problem.
What does it stand for? What does that mean?
So it actually means hope in Setswana. And the craziest thing is that I actually don't speak any word of Tswana, which is
What?
actually crazy and embarrassing at the same time because I am Zulu. But I feel like my name being Tswana, I should at least know how to converse properly in Setswana.
Yeah, at least one word. But I'm sure you know one word. What's that one Tswana word that you know?
Just my name. It's very embarrassing. Here's the thing: I can understand when someone in Sotho speaks to me,
Yeah.
but I can never reply. So
Who
yeah,
who who named you? Who gave you this name?
uh, both my parents, but my dad had some kind of story about how it's like he was
Yeah.
trying to make some kind of statement. I was born October '93, and there's lots of black on black violence, and he was trying to show people, I guess, through naming his daughter that you can be a Zulu speaking man with a Swazi wife and have a child and still give her a name that's not in either of you guys' cultures.
Mm.
So that was the whole statement. It's beautiful, the kind of story behind it. Now it kind of makes me look like I have an identity crisis. But yeah, that was the whole backstory was it was some was a political statement.
Yeah, it's you guys have like a mini Rainbow Nation going on there at home, eh? The different
A
different
little bit,
cultures.
eh?
That's
A little bit.
incredible. Are your parents supportive of your musical journey at all?
Very much so. So I did grow up in between Joburg and KZN. I moved to KZN after my parents separated. But that still, even with all of that, they still remained incredibly supportive. And I think just being a musician and artist and just person, I've kind of learned so much from them separately or as individuals rather. My dad is a playwright and was a university exec. So there's that kind of artsy fartsy side that I've always been exposed to. And my mom is a HR exec and has always been most of her career. She's also now a pastor. So there's that kind of side of being an entrepreneur and her business acumen that I've learned so much from. So yeah, definitely super supportive. My number one fans. I can't I can't, praise them enough. They've definitely been there.
You mentioned, the business acumen. What would you say the three sort of golden tips would be for someone who's making music in South Africa for them to maximize on profits in any way?
Shucks, if I'm still trying to figure that out. It's so tricky because industry keeps on changing. It's a very fluid kind of space, and there's many ways to make money. In fact, in chapter 4 of my master's degree, that's kind of what I was discussing in that thesis about what are the different income streams and ways to make money in the music industry or as an independent musician. And there's the typical ones like, selling merchandise, leveraging your skills by teaching, and the ones, oh, by publishing. But again, those are kind of long term, that's a long game. But the three tips in maximizing profits, first and foremost, is to believe in yourself, man. I think for me, anything that I do, whether it's musical or within like music academia, there is no gimmick. I don't even have like a stage name or an alias, or I'm just Tsholofelo, because I'm myself. So I think it's really just to believe in yourself and to stay true to yourself. I think it shows in your products, and the product here would be your music or the merchandise or whatever you're selling, doing through your music. The first tip is to believe in yourself. The other two, shucks, I'll tell you when I know.
Tell me, let's keep it for the end. Bit of a cliffhanger there
Okay.
for someone to come back at the end there. Perfect. The first one is really incredible. It is something that is really important for you to believe in yourself. Because if you don't believe in yourself, then who is going to believe in you for you? Doesn't really make sense to go about it without looking at it that way. You mentioned your parents separating. Did that have any impact on you at all? This actually reminds me of something we had. We had a conversation with New Edison. shout out New Edison. And Megan was asking, she was like, do you feel like artists utilize pain as sort of like their products? Do they take pain and sort of conceptualize it, make it a product, as they thrive off of it? They get to express themselves because of the pain that they go through. I want to know if your parents' separation had any impact at all, even if it was painless or even if it didn't make you feel some type of way.
100%. I think for me, I started writing or using, wasn't even music at the time. Like I just started writing poetry like when I was like 15, 14. And poetry turned into song. And that kind of all came from trying to find a way to express myself, number one. Number two, trying to create a world or an alternative reality where kind of I was in control of my situation, my surroundings. So kind of art kind of put some measure of power into my hands. And there's a quote by Simon Frith, who's this really famous guy. If you've gone to university or done any kind of like music academic coursework, you might know Simon Frith, and he basically says that music is your way of being in the world. Whatever it is that I'm processing, whether it's pain, whether it's pleasure, whether it's happiness, whatever it is, I'm going to use it or process it in a way that will end up musical. So 100% that experience of having my parents separate did kind of give birth to this other side, or kind of make me realize that I can express myself through, whether it's poetry or whether it's through songwriting, whether it's through singing. So yeah, 100% it did play a role.
Your mom being a pastor, does that have any impact on the stuff that you end up making? Are you a lot more conscious about the stuff that you end up releasing as well?
Luckily, he's extremely open-minded, but also I don't swear much in song. Perhaps if I were to be a rapper, I think I live vicariously through like hip hop artists, and when I feel frustrated or have any pent up aggression or want to swear, I'd listen to a whole lot of that. But much of what I've released, there's not any kind of I don't filter myself. At the same time, I don't want to say I don't say things that will make other people feel uncomfortable. Sure, there might be those moments, but I've never actually I've never been stopped or hindered by her profession.
Now, this is really incredible. Being a person that has moved, you obviously mentioned, having stayed in KZN and also then in Joburg. What would you say the best of Durban is in terms of being an artist? Like, what does Durban have to offer, or KZN rather, wherever you are based in KZN? What are sort of the best things, for an artist when it comes to KZN? And what would you say sort of the best things, for someone who's an artist living in Joburg sort of are? Because I'd like to think there are pros and cons when it comes to both. A lot of people have this perspective that Johannesburg is where it's all at, but at the same time, you'll find that there are certain things that Durban sort of has that Joburg doesn't, that could assist in you being an artist. So, as someone who's lived in both, what would you say the pros and cons are on the other side?
Pros and cons. I'll start with Durban. So I'm based or grew up in Bangeni. It's a town 2 hours from Durban in the north coast of KZN. And then I went to university in Durban. Pros, without a doubt, is the talent there, man. It's insane. I might be biased, but they are very talented people. And I think everyone who ends up, anyone who's doing well in Joburg, you are likely to find that they are from Durban. So I'm biased in the sense that the talent there is incredible. They almost have like an innate ability to make music, to sing, to dance. And to this day, it's funny because my father always calls Durban my spiritual home. So whenever I need to like check out from the hustle and bustle of Joburg, I head back to Durban and I kind of slow down and I'm able to make music. And that's actually what I did earlier this year in February. I was a bit tired of Joburg. I packed my guitar in my car, my mic, my sound card, all of this, the stuff we used to record. And I just had like a week in KZN where I was just writing. It's just being able to slow down is a huge pro as well that I feel exists in KZN. A con in KZN is that everything is very laissez-faire, which is understandable because when people or a group of people can do something naturally, like singing or dancing, whatever, it becomes a strange concept for them to create a business out of it. So that I would say is the con, that sometimes the slow pace of everything does hinder or slow down your growth itself. Pro in Johannesburg would be the opposite. Would be the fact that you are kind of getting, you do meet the right people, just in terms of business and what you should be doing. There's the networking opportunities in Joburg are a bit better than in Durban. The con is you'll have a tricky time with discernment in Joburg because a lot of people can promise you the same thing. And it's going to be tricky sometimes to discern between, the real deal and people who are just selling you a dream or trying to find a way to make a quick buck out of you. So that is the con, that because of the density of people, it becomes very tricky to know, discern who to trust. So you just have to kind of work your way through the maze. It is the concrete jungle. It does inspire you. It's fast paced, but if you use that pace to kind of inspire you to do more, you can live a good life in Joburg. But I personally do need best of both. I feel like every 3 months I need to leave Joburg.
Gun to your head, as an artist, you have to live in one place forever between Joburg and Durban.
Oh, shucks. No, that's such a tricky one. Durban. Maybe Durban.
Durban wins
If
again.
I was forced. Yeah,
Yeah.
if I was forced, yeah.
Hey, that is epic. You mentioned picking up your guitar. We're gonna get to yams, which I feel like is the key point here. You picked up a guitar. You mentioned, whenever you need to, get away from the hustle and bustle of Johannesburg. When did you pick up? When was the first time you picked up a guitar? Why did you pick up a guitar? It's a bit of a cliche question, but we need to get, that background in terms of where this all started and why it started.
I think around 14, yeah, it was grade 7. My arts and culture teacher, arts and crafts, sorry, she could play guitar and she was having lessons. And that's how that began. I basically bullied my father into buying me a guitar. And I took some lessons and she was doing it very informally. Like she knew a couple of chords and decided I'm going to teach these kids or whoever wants to learn just a couple of chords. So that's how that started. Went to a couple of lessons and then I kind of dropped it for years. And then around 16 again, I picked it up and then started teaching myself, especially because I think around that age, Adele had just dropped her debut album titled 19. And I was obsessed with it. And I decided I have to do this again because Adele's doing it. That's how that actually started.
Would you say Adele is like your idol in a way?
100%. Yeah. Especially for 19, that first album. Yeah, I think meeting her would be such a career highlight. So yeah, from the songwriting, for the playing, there was a simplicity in it that I felt I could connect to. And yeah, man, she's just really dope. Funny enough, a lot of my friends and colleagues have said in terms of that could relate to kind of her style is her songwriting and how she's always like emotional in her feelings. And I think that I've always been emotional and in my feelings when it comes to songwriting. So perhaps if I were to connect any kind of similarity, it would be probably the songwriting.
Very, very wonderful. Now, obviously, looking at what I touched on briefly earlier was You Are My Sunday. I need you to tell me a bit more about what that is for anyone who may not have the knowledge.
So yeah, so how Yams happened, it's actually I saw posts of it late last year, I think. And then an acquaintance of mine was like, "Hey, did you go play Yams?" So it is its own kind of what can I call it, concept that exists already. So the owner of it is a lovely lady. Her name is Bridget, and obviously, we're all independent. I think she operates independently as well. Um, I saw a call out for at the beginning of May to play in Yams, and I was like, oh, I might as well do, like, I've been seeing these posts about this place called or this concept called Yams. Let me just play on a Sunday afternoon. And I sent her my profile, press kit, and video and all of these things of me performing. And she liked it. They got back to me and they told me, "Oh, okay, cool. You'll be shortlisted. You'll play. You're on the lineup." And that's how that happened. But otherwise, it was they had already been operating for a while now. And I played their outdoor Sunday event about a week ago. Yeah, it happens on the last Sunday of every month.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how that happened.
And
Yeah.
how was that experience though? Did you enjoy it?
It was really good. It was really good. I mean, the lineup was incredible. There's a lot of talent out there. But I had great fun, man, and I think it's because I was almost forcing myself to get out of my shell. COVID-19 kind of put us all in this whole I don't like going out thing anymore. And I hadn't played in so long. So just being out there and playing, I played with a friend of mine, Mpulego Freeman Kumete, who plays the bass, and I was also joined by William Nobela, who plays the cello, who played on the single that I released last year called Past 2 Years. And we did a really small, intimate acoustic set, not long at all, but like just the reviews I've been getting after that, and people coming up to me and saying, "Whoa, that was like, who are you and where do you come from?" That was such a moving experience to me, and it's also a lesson for me to not go silent for so long, you know. So I think I was telling a friend of mine that I'm actually self-committing to going out and playing more shows and doing it consistently. So Yams was just the first one of many that are coming.
This Yams concept really sounds amazing. Thank you for actually explaining that because I was a bit in the dark, like as to what, Yams is. And the fact that you actually played the events is incredible. And some of the artists that you named as well, it's brilliant. You mentioned a press kit there, being able to play such a prestigious event like Yams, of course, you obviously had to hand in your press kits, as you said. So, what does the ultimate or what does the best sort of press kits sort of entail? I mean, if you're able to get into these events, this well, there must be some key points in there that you could share with us.
Okay, so the one of the necessities for every artist is to have a EPK, electronic press kit slash profile. I call it profile as well, and it's just basically your CV, right? And you send it to promoters, whoever you work with, just so that they can see what you've done, where you've appeared, like any CV, basically. And I think part of what makes my EPK strong, besides the fact that, I mean, we're all like a CV, the more experience it has, the better it looks. I do think one of the advantages of having a proper press kit or profile is good writing. And I do have kind of that added advantage in terms of I put together my own kind of CV profile, press kit, all of that. It's very important to just write well in that. It just gets you a little bit more attention and to organize it well. I'm only realizing now that this becomes, I think it links to your first question, it becomes another kind of income stream for me in terms of, okay, not only can I write my own profile, my own press kit, but I can write for other artists. And that's one of the things that I actually, in a lot of ways, have started doing, but will be doing or will offer as a service through a company that I had founded many years ago, but had not done anything with it. And I'm only now in 2022 reviving it again. But yeah, it becomes very important to package yourself correctly. If you package yourself correctly and you do have the talent and you do believe in yourself, I don't want to say you could play anywhere, but it helps a whole lot.
You mentioned past 2 years there. The initial, I think this
Uh,
would have been then what, kickstarted us even being here, when a while back when we started communicating. So tell me a bit more about that there. What was going through your mind when you made that? And I also saw that you recently dropped some merch, which we have to plug because that's amazing. So tell us a bit more about past 2 years.
Past 2 years, I wrote it on the 1st of January, 2022. So when everyone was saying happy, I was in my room crying my eyes out, writing a song. Um, yeah, man, I think I was just thinking of quite literally the year 2020 and 2021 and reflecting on those past 2 years and how much of a crazy experience, man, that whole thing was living in unprecedented times, as everyone was saying, with the pandemic, losing people. It was particularly painful for me in 2021 because of the close relatives of friends that we were losing, and we had to bury. Um, did kind of go through my own personal loss. I did lose my uncle
Mm.
in 2021 again through the whole pandemic. So that song was just literally me kind of reflecting on those past years and the fact that we're out on the other side, and now all we have to do is heal and take part in our healing, actively take part in our healing. So that was that song. But I also think that it remains relevant because everyone's had, and it's funny because my mom was saying this a couple of days ago, everyone had their past 2 years. Everyone has a story or an experience or something or a season that they've gone through that they actually were not sure how they would get out of the other side, through the other side. And that's what I think will continue to make the song relevant. But yeah, for me personally, that's how that song came about. It was just through reflecting 2020 and 2021.
How did you know when the song was done? Like what sort of informed the decision to be like, okay, it's complete now, it's enough, let me release it to the world?
When a close friend of mine who produced the song, Tando, was like, "Dude, it's done now." Um, that's kind of when I knew. But the funny thing is, it was done on the day I wrote it. I wrote the first and second verse, and then I stopped writing on that same night because I was kind of in my feelings and getting emotional, and I was like, "Screw all of this." And that was January, and I remember only in February speaking to my friend and producer Tando, who produced the track, and I was like, "Dude, I've got this track. I think maybe it could be really cool, but you're not really." I wasn't really sure of it at the time. And he was like, "Send it through." I've made him responsible for bullying me into making music because I kind of listened to him. And he was like, "Send it through right now." And I sent it just as a voice note to him. And it was just the first two verses. And they were very bad. I had the flu. Then we had a video call. And he was like, "Dude, this song has potential. Let's actually work on it." And music making is very cash intensive. So I was like, "Yo, dude, yeah, we'll do it when I find the money to do it." And luckily, I had actually applied for the Music Creation Support Fund that Samro was offering back in March, but I didn't, or in February, but I didn't hear from them. So I thought, whatever. And around April of last year, they responded and said they were giving me, the money to do the song. And that's how I actually ended up doing it. And again, Tando and I kept production like very minimal. Like I knew that in the song, all I needed was guitar and cello. I didn't want all these other instruments. He then commissioned me. He instructed me even. He bullied me into writing two more verses and a bridge, he said, around March. And I was like, "Oh, dude, I'm not sure." And I tried and tried and tried. And when we were in studio, the only part of what was new in the song that we kept was the bridge. And he said to me, "So essentially, dude, this song was done the same night you wrote it, which was in January. But here we are in like June only realizing that it's actually done. We don't need to add anything." So how do I know how did I know when the song was done? I don't know. I think I knew that time he confirmed it in studio, but otherwise it was actually complete on the day I wrote it. Because the only thing that had changed between January and June was the fact that I had written a bridge, which was 2 lines. And in the song now, that bridge is like almost the climatic point of that song and is kind of the essence of that entire song.
And what you've gone and done now is basically make merch based off of that, which is a really awesome move, by the way. I mean, this is something that I only ever see international artists do, like, your Tyler the Creators, your Mac Millers and such, whenever they'll release something, they'll release merch to accommodate that sort of drop. What inspired that move? It's actually incredible. Like, I don't really see many South African artists going that route.
I had done merch back in 2018 for my debut album titled Becoming, and I just had hoodies. So the whole merch thing was not a new idea. Part of the reason why I did hoodies and sweaters and stuff is because that's all I ever wear. I have friends that tease me all the time at like, "Dude, all you ever wear is like a hoodie or a sweater and sweatpants." Until I stopped being self-conscious about it, and I was like, "Okay, but if this is my style and some people kind of like it, let me just
Embrace it.
let me just kind of embrace it. And that's how initially the thing with the hoodies I had back in 2018 happened. Now with this, I thought, oh, it becomes interesting again to kind of put past years on a sweater and put the album or put the single artwork at the back of the sweater or the hoodie, especially because I really, really like that image of the artwork. I got a graphic designer. His name is Daniel. He's based in the UK to design the artwork. And I literally found this guy off Instagram. Like, we've never met, we've never spoken over the phone or over Zoom. I saw his work while just trying to look for graphic designers on Instagram. And I DM'd him and we just started communicating from there. And I really, really enjoyed that image. And so much so that last year when I was, putting together the single, I knew that I'd put this image on a t-shirt or any type of garment. The other side of it is that whatever I generate in terms of income from selling that merch might help me in releasing another single. So again, it's just trying to create money to put back into the music. It's just another strategy. But yeah, that's how the sweaters and the hoodies came about. Generally because I just enjoy a
Hmm.
good sweater.
What is the best way to promote merch for anyone who's even considering going down that path? What have you found? I mean, you said you did it in the initial album as well. What are the best practices for that?
It all ties down to you. Would you wear that? Again, this is part of what, some of these academics have said, people who study music and kind of arts and culture and its effects on people, is that people don't buy a product, people buy a person. If people have bought into who I am, who Sulu is off and on social media, they're likely to buy into whatever it is that I'm selling, whether that's music or a garment. The best practice here is to be yourself authentically, and it is likely to be sold or be sellable simply because people have bought into you as a person.
I've learned so much from this interview. I think we basically cracked some of the three golden elements. It would be one would be to basically how you sell yourself, how you present yourself, obviously having a very dope EPK as well, and selling merch is a viable option for
Yeah.
someone looking to make an income as an artist. We're going to be closing out with Past 2 Years. I feel like it's a very incredible song that people need to listen to. I don't know how many times I've said incredible in this episode. I need to do a count of each time I've said it. Just realized now. But I want to thank you for joining me on this episode. I thoroughly enjoyed chatting to you, and I want to leave it here because I feel like it's now up to the guest. I mean, rather to the audience to listen to this and be like, you know what? Let me actually check out Tsholofelo and some of the music that she makes. So basically, if anyone wants to reach out to you and wants to find Past 2 Years, wants to buy the merch, give us links, give us social media handles.
My social media handles. So on Instagram, it's just at the only Tulu. YouTube is official Tulu, but as soon as you just type in Tsholofelo Past 2 Years on YouTube, you will find my YouTube channel. And Past 2 Years and my previous album, Becoming, is on your favorite DSP.
And for all things Sledge Underground, we got our website www.sledgeunderground.com. Obviously, we just released beanies, so get that. It's the best way that you can support the show. Tsholofelo, are there any parting words that you want to give to people that have been following your journey? I firstly want to thank you for joining me. I really appreciate the session.
Thank you so much to Sledge Underground for inviting me. This interview we've been talking about it for a while now, so I'm so glad it happened. And to anyone and everyone that's been following me, thank you very much. I recently started calling everyone on Instagram my internet family. So thank you very, very, very much for buying into this weird girl with the guitar and for remaining and being curious about what it is that I'm doing, even when I've been silent. It really doesn't go unnoticed. Thank you.
Well, on that bombshell from Tsholofelo and I, until next time, this is bye for now.
These are the past 2 years. Tears of the past 2 years. Though filled with uncertainty, the one thing that's assured me is how it's such a gift to see another opportunity, a brand new day. They'll come what may. These are the past 2 years.